Well, if you thought the last video was an April Fool's Day joke, you were wrong, because here I am doing another birding slash weather video. I'm going to do roughly what I did last time, kick it off with the global forecast system model run. A lot of rain on deck for the next 24 hours. And this big low forms right around the Great Lakes, and unfortunately lingers a few days. A little adjustment from the previous video is that this storm gets quite strong. 978 is very, very low pressure for right around our area. And I find this interesting and also sort of very hard to predict in the sense that for low pressure, all air tends to flow into the center of the low. So this is Friday, right around the same time as that last image. And just to illustrate this, there's a huge amount of air that is all blowing towards this central point. So from a migration standpoint, this time of year, warm air over the ocean here might be suitable. Nothing is really that great. Anything that's behind schedule will probably still try to move in west winds like you see in the Carolinas here. From a vagrancy standpoint, I think it gets slightly more interesting in that as all air flows into the central point, it's entirely possible to get vagrants from just about any direction. This time of year is historically not very good for vagrants, but we are rapidly approaching the best time of year in late April and May. So maybe it's a good time to just touch on that. But if you just subscribe to the theory that vagrants come from where the wind has blown them, you could get birds from the St. Lawrence River, you could get something from James Bay, something from Lake Superior could theoretically get wrapped in here, something from the south is pulling up the east coast, something from Nova Scotia could pull in. I don't think any of that's going to happen, but it's sort of an interesting element of low pressure where it's kind of hard to predict what it is that may arrive. But it does have high potential because you have a huge part of North America that could theoretically be feeding you birds. This time of year is not terribly great, so I'm just going to push ahead and look for surges of warm air, which is really what we all hope for this time of year. Models have been fairly consistent as we move a bit ahead to the 9th, 10th, 11th range, where we have high pressure over the southeast and fairly strong low pressure forming over the center of the continent. We get these isobars showed before, which is usually a pretty strong indication of wind. I switch over to 1.5 kilometers up off the ground in temperature. We see a lot of warm temperatures here and a lot of wind barbs pointing from the southwest heading northeast, which is good. As the storm moves a little closer to us, you can see, unfortunately, it spins out a little bit. Still 979, which is very powerful, but it doesn't really have the full gusto as it gets closer to home in the southern Great Lakes. But there is going to be a period of 12 to 36 hours, if this comes to pass, which it should. It's been fairly consistent, of very strong southwesterly warm winds. If I switch back to the rain image, you can see there is some rain in the way, which again is going to limit the amount of time that birds are going to have to move. So right here, this is 1 a.m. on Monday, April 10th. It looks absolutely spectacular, and by 12 hours later, you have rain throughout most of southern Michigan and into southwestern Ontario. So looks good. Looks like the front will stall just south of the Great Lakes, so that'll probably slow down migration again for a couple of days. And interestingly, this is new from the last run because it was a little too far away to know what was going to happen around April 12th, but we have another low pressure system forming. And the structure is quite good again. Isobars coming up from the southwest. The low is not quite as strong, but has a really well-defined structure. If I switch back to the 850 millibars, you can see it on the image here. It's not extremely warm air, but it is warm southerly air on April 13th, which is an absolutely great time of year to go birding whenever you possibly can. So definitely something to look forward to. One thing I also wanted to show briefly is just how some of these weather systems match up to what you would typically see on a weather map, where you see these blue and red fronts of air. So the low, this is 3 days out, so this is that big low that's going to hang around. It's a fairly powerful, very rainy storm. You can see the warm front is pretty much out over the ocean, so very early on in the video I talked about how the air mass and weather that migrants really look for this time of year is out over the ocean, so not particularly suitable for us in the lower Great Lakes. as it moves away, the day 7 forecast really starts to show that structure that is absolute perfection for April and into May. And you have a warm, surging air mass reaching the southern Great Lakes. I find it something about these dry lines to the south. I don't really know what it is that brings interesting birds, but whenever I see that on the map, it tells me that there's something about the structure of this low pressure system and the jet stream and these fronts that is going to result in some really great birding. So something to look forward to. 9th, 10th, 11th of April could be quite good. Anywhere from 12 to 36 hours of excellent migration conditions. And right after that, around the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, a little too far away, but it's showing another fairly promising low pressure system. So hopefully this is a pattern that holds. Occasionally in the weather media, you may hear about a pattern that's been locked in place. So these large scale weather patterns that are high in the atmosphere, such as the tracks of these low pressure systems, will sort of lock in place for anywhere from 10 days to a month or more. Inevitably some large weather system far away. Sometimes it's typhoons out over the western Pacific Ocean that hook into the jet stream and their remnants come our way is what eventually knocks this weather pattern out of place, and we get something new afterwards. So there's no real telling how long these favorable low pressure systems will last, but if they stick around for a while, we can be excited as birders. So perhaps that will provide some more opportunities to highlight some exciting weather, and I'll be back with more in the future.